10,000 steps a day. It's on your Apple Watch. It's in every fitness article. It's the default goal on every wearable ever made. But here's what nobody tells you. That number wasn't created by scientists. It wasn't created by doctors. It wasn't created by longevity researchers. It was created by a Japanese pedometer company in 1965 as a marketing slogan. The most followed fitness target in human history, invented to sell a product. And the peer-reviewed research, it says you've been optimizing for completely the wrong thing. Here's what the science actually says you should be doing, and it costs nothing. You've been told walking is the answer, and walking is good. We covered that in the last video, but obsessing over step count is the wrong metric entirely, because steps don't tell you anything about intensity, and intensity is everything. A 2023 study in the British Journal of Sports Medicine followed over 72,000 adults and found that the relationship between steps and mortality wasn't linear. Beyond around 8,000 steps, additional steps added almost no further benefit. But intensity kept paying dividends all the way up. People who walked briskly, or even for fewer total steps, had significantly better longevity outcomes than people who shuffled their way to 10,000. The goal was never the number. The goal was always the effort. Everything in this video comes from peer-reviewed research, not fitness influencer opinion, not wearable company marketing. Actual science. Let's get into what you should actually be doing. So if step count is the wrong metric, what's the right one? It's something called Zone 2 cardio, and it's the most underrated longevity tool in existence. Zone 2 is a specific intensity of cardiovascular exercise. Not too easy, not too hard, right in the middle. The technical definition is exercising at 60 to 70% of your maximum heart rate. But the practical definition is simpler. You should be able to hold a conversation, but you wouldn't want to. A brisk walk, where you're slightly breathless. A light jog where you could speak in short sentences. Cycling at a pace that feels comfortably uncomfortable. That zone right there is where the longevity magic happens. Zone 2. Exercise is the primary driver of mitochondrial health. Your mitochondria are the energy engines of your cells. Every cell in your body runs on the energy they produce. And as you age, your mitochondria decline. They become fewer, less efficient, and less capable. That decline is directly linked to metabolic disease, cognitive decline, cardiovascular disease, and accelerated aging. Zone 2. Cardio is the single most effective intervention ever studied for maintaining and improving mitochondrial function. Nothing else comes close. Not supplements, not high-intensity interval training. Peter Attia calls Zone 2 training the single most important exercise modality for longevity. Not the most exciting, the most important. And here's the kicker. A brisk walk is Zone 2 for most people. You don't need a heart rate monitor. You don't need a Whoop band. You don't need a treadmill. You just need to walk fast enough that talking feels slightly inconvenient. So, what's the actual protocol? What does the research say you should be doing? The most cited recommendation from longevity researchers is 150 to 180 minutes of Zone 2 per week. That's 3 to 4 sessions of 45 minutes each, or 5 sessions of 30 minutes, whatever fits your life. Now here's where the 10,000 steps target actually becomes useful. If you're hitting 8,000 to 10,000 steps, and those steps include 30 to 45 minutes of brisk walking, you're probably already doing Zone 2 without realizing it. The problem isn't walking. The problem is slow walking. Shuffling to 10,000 steps at a gentle pace gives you movement, but almost no Zone 2 benefit. A 2019 study in JAMA Internal Medicine compared step count to step intensity in older adults. The group with higher stepping intensity had 28% lower all-cause mortality than the group who simply hit higher step counts at lower intensity. 28% lower mortality. From walking faster, not more. Think about that for a second. You could walk fewer steps and live longer just by picking up the pace. Now, what about high intensity training? Should you be doing HIIT instead? Here's what the research says, and this might surprise you. High intensity training is valuable, but it cannot replace Zone 2. It builds on top of it. Think of Zone 2 as building your aerobic engine. High intensity training is what you do once the engine is big enough to handle it. Skipping Zone 2 and going straight to HIIT is like trying to turbocharge an engine before you've built the engine. The optimal protocol, according to most longevity researchers, is roughly 80% Zone 2 and 20% higher intensity work, E and beta. For someone doing 4 sessions a week, 3 Zone 2 sessions and 1 higher intensity session. That's it. And what counts as higher intensity? The Norwegian 4x4 protocol we covered in the VO2 max video. 4 minutes hard, 3 minutes easy, repeated 4 times. Once a week. Done. So let's build the actual free weekly protocol. Monday, 45-minute brisk walk. Fast enough that you're slightly breathless. Wednesday, 45-minute brisk walk. Same intensity. Friday, 45-minute brisk walk. Saturday, Norwegian 4x4. 4 minutes hard, 3 minutes easy, 4 rounds. 28 minutes total. That's your entire longevity cardio protocol. Free, no equipment, no gym. 163 minutes a week. And you can absolutely count your daily steps toward this. Just make sure at least 30 to 45 minutes of them are at a pace that challenges you. Here's how this connects to everything else we've covered on this channel. Zone 2. Cardio directly improves your VO2 max, the number we talked about last week that predicts your lifespan better than almost any other metric. It improves your sleep quality. People with higher cardiovascular fitness consistently show deeper, more restorative sleep cycles. It enhances the benefits of time-restricted eating. Mitochondrial efficiency and metabolic flexibility work together. These aren't separate habits, they're one system. And Zone 2 is the engine that makes the whole system run better. A 2022 meta-analysis of over 400 studies found that regular moderate intensity aerobic exercise, Zone 2, reduced all-cause mortality risk by up to 35% compared to sedentary populations. 35% lower risk of dying early. From brisk walking 4 times a week, no supplement has ever come close to that number. No wearable, no biohacking protocol, just consistent moderate intensity movement. So let's go back to where we started. The 10,000 steps target. Should you stop counting steps entirely? No. Steps are a useful proxy for total movement, but they're not the goal. The goal is 150 minutes of Zone 2 per week. Steps are just one way to get there, right? Stop optimizing for the number on your watch. Start optimizing for how hard you're working during those steps. Walk faster. Breathe a little harder. Make the conversation slightly inconvenient. That's the protocol. That's the science. And it costs exactly nothing. Here's your one action from this video. On your next walk, pick up the pace until talking feels slightly uncomfortable. Hold that pace for at least 30 minutes. That's Zone 2. That's the protocol. You're already doing it. Every week on this channel, we take what the longevity researchers actually know and translate it into something you can do on a normal budget. No expensive gear required, just the science. Subscribe if that's useful to you. Next week, the anti-inflammatory diet that longevity scientists actually eat. and how to follow it without spending a penny more than you already do on food.